yesterday night or evening, right? I was literally thinking to myself, well, we haven't had any major offseason moves, so I'm probably just gonna chill out, start writing my ideas down and get ready for that. All of that has been flipped onto my head. So number one, with us not knowing who the best player in the world is, we are in a very nebulous time in NBA history. Normally, there's like a guy who is at least in the conversation, a de facto guy. Um, One of those guys who used to be in that conversation and used to be de facto number one was just moved last night. But before we get into that, let's talk about something very cool last night. Well, one, if you think that good basketball is over just because the NBA is done until September, yeah, I got bad news for you, brother. So come here real quick. The WNBA is actually really, really good. I watched that game, the Seattle Storm versus the Wings. I know I have a little bit of time and to get your retention and stuff like that. But yeah, I watched that game last night. That was an overtime thriller. Sophie Cunningham, sorry, not Sophie Cunningham. Jesus Christ, that's the wrong player. Paige Beckers has reached the 1,000 point club. Congratulations to her. That was a very thrilling game last night. I also watched the Fever come back against the. Can't remember who they came back against. The Tempo? No, whatever. WNBA stuff aside, the good basketball is still happening. So watch that if you're really, really bored out of your mind and you need some basketball. This is great basketball. Let's talk about the trades. So, I don't know if you saw the thumbnail, but Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Miami Heat. Thank God. So we're hearing some very good news, right? One, he didn't go to Boston. Two, Jaylen Brown was in trade talks. Obviously, to get Giannis, they were going to be in trade talks. But if I'm Jaylen Brown, I don't want them to progressively pursuing Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? Because that means I'm going to get traded. I don't want to be traded. Why would I want to be traded? And two, I guess maybe he wanted to be traded, but hearing that they were trying to move you and they didn't even get the player, yeah, that doesn't help. That doesn't bode well for the teams. Like shit, especially because the media's been trying to sow discourse into them. They finally have an actual talking point to talk about. So there's that. Let's talk about the Giannis deal and who's actually in it. Milwaukee native Tyler Hero is getting sent to Milwaukee. Bobby Portis is being moved in to Miami. I'm pretty sure Khalil Ware is also being moved. Khalil Ware is also being moved. Let's see. Jaime Jaquez, who was in Six Men of the Year talks last year, is also being moved. And I'm not even going to pretend that I know who the fuck this is. Kasparis Giaconis. I've heard his name before. I've never seen him. I don't know what he looks like. He's also being moved to go to Milwaukee. For Tyler Hero, this is great because he's going to be able to play in Milwaukee. He's had a lot of family in Milwaukee. That's good for him. As far as being a good team, based on standings last year, you literally just got traded to the team that was right below you. So that sucks. The Miami Heat have to make a lot of moves though during this offseason because Giannis and Bam, as great as that team is going to be defensively, has no fucking offense. That is not going to work. Yes, Giannis can give you 30. Obviously, you would want to give him. He would obviously want to give you 30 with a team that has decent spacing. This team does not have that. Tyler Hero, I'm not even going to talk about what Milwaukee is going to be doing in the now because let's talk about the picks. The picks are the most important thing in this trade for the Milwaukee Bucks because Tyler Hero not moving the needle. Jaime Jaquez, something. And then Khalil Ware. Ooh, Khalil Ware. This is basically the exact same trade we saw previously. I guess they were not willing to offer as many draft picks, which makes sense. Miami gave up their unprotected 2031 first pick alongside a 2033 first pick. Remember, they're not in consecutive years because of the stuffing rule. And then they're also giving up the number 13 pick. And they have a pick swap in 2030 and a second rounder in 2033. I thought we were in the era of not seeing stars being moved for a lot of draft picks because of capital and how they fucked up the Brooklyn Nets and the Brooklyn Nets. We have yet to see it as badly for Minnesota, but I think they're in a very similar situation right now. They're trying to recuperate some picks. So there's that. Yeah, that's what's going on with them. We'll get back to them really quickly. Oh no, we're talking about the Timberwolves right now. I'm going down Shams' stuff to see the order in which he broke down the news. We'll talk about that. Ayo Dosunmu was given a 5-year, $112 million contract to return to the Minnesota Timberwolves. For those who are trying to figure out how much that is, That's roughly 23 million a season, which slightly less than 23 million a season actually. It's around 22.7 season. That's not that bad. That's a very good contract for him. He was very helpful for him in the playoffs. They obviously needed a point guard. They needed a ball handler. Having another one of them on the team in Iosimo's case, which they got for like chump change, and were able to re-sign for a deal as cheap as this, is very good. Minnesota is still in a situation right now where I think they're going to stay back on this team. I have seen a lot of disgusting rebuilds for this team that have just not been like just good for the team. I just don't think they move the needle in any consistent and cohesive way. So there's that. But this is a nice little addition to keep maintaining him. Obviously, they did this right after sending Julius Randle to the Brooklyn Nets for the number 28 pick in this draft. And in this 3-team deal, Nick Claxton is being sent to the Bulls. If I'm Nick Claxton, being moved out of New York to Chicago, not terrible. If I'm Julius Randle, niggas moved me for a pick that's not even in the lottery. Dang, bro, I know I played horrible, but being banished from contender. I mean, at least he's back in New York. That's cool for him, I guess. Probably not the franchise you'd want to be in New York right now, but, hey, something happened. Diawara's coming back to New York Knicks. That was really nothing. All right, let's get to Trae Young's deal. So, obviously, when they traded for Trae Young, their plan was to re-sign him in the offseason. He did not play any basketball for them this season, so I was going to be like, I don't know how his value really looks. Oh, well, he played a couple of games for them, but nothing serious or important. He did not really impact this team or change this team in winning and anything because of the fucking Wizards. Obviously, AD is on the roster. They plan to re-sign Trae Young almost immediately. They're not planning to trade AD, even though AD seems like he wants to be traded. That is not going to happen, though, buddy. They're going to run this shit until it doesn't work. They gave Trae Young 4 years, $212 million. Now, I don't think Trae Young is worth half of that money. He's not. Let me explain this to you really quickly. He does not have the shot making of a Jalen Brunson to justify this, and he does not have the defenders around him to make this team work. So if you don't have both of those things, this is not worth it. It's also because when you have a small guard in this team, your defense is obviously going to be bad. The Wizards do not have enough good defenders around them. And even if you think that AD is a positive defender, which I can give you that, he is not going to be playing basketball nearly as much as, I don't know, the regular NBA player. He's probably going to play more games closer to me than he is going to play to LeBron, which is disgusting. LeBron is like 42 years old, so there's that. By the way, we haven't had LeBron news yet, so there's that. The Lakers are still trying to figure stuff out there. Yeah, $212 million for Trace. First of all, paying Trae $53 million a season is disgusting. The fact that it's probably backloaded too is even worse. I would never pay that nigga $53 million a season. Absolutely not. Wiggins was sent to the Hawks for second-round picks, I think. Let's see. They are getting out of the luxury tax while they trade him. That's the entire reason for them doing that. What did they get? The Thunder into Tuesday's draft with 2 picks. They're getting the 12th pick and the 17th pick. Nothing of real note as far as that. As far as X's and O's, obviously losing Aaron Wiggins would make a lot of sense for this Oklahoma City team, considering they did not utilize him at all in the postseason, really. They did, ironically enough, need scoring and ball handling, so if they didn't think that they could use him in the postseason, that's probably a sign that it was time to move on from him. And Presti did the right thing in moving on from him, and I think that Wiggins being sent to Atlanta, Atlanta is not really in the need for what Wiggins provides, in my opinion, but I think they'll try and utilize him in the rotation and get some more offense out of them. This is the team that took 2 games off of the champions, and literally no one else in the league even took 1 besides the Spurs. So, yeah, that's something, I guess. Speaking of moves the Hawks made, they re-signed CJ McCollum to a 1-year extension for $21 million. For starters, for CJ, in my opinion, this is like nothing. $21 million is nothing to CJ McCollum at this point in his career, I guess, to me at least. And then 2, the Hawks desperately needed CJ McCollum. I guess they're trying to put Wiggins in the role to replace him eventually. The veteran leadership that he brought to this team and the shooting and shot making is why they won 2 games against the New York Knicks in the first place. They are still going to be first round exits doing this stuff. Oh, and really quickly, I just wanted to throw this in the video because no one else is going to talk about this. Hey, Cleveland, blow that shit up. Blow it up. Blow it up. Please blow that shit up. Blow it up. Blow it up. Do not pay James Harden. Trade Donovan Mitchell. See what you can get. Blow this shit up. It's over. Giannis is being moved to a team that actually matters. And Boston won 50 games last year, and Tatum did not play there. And then the team that was in the finals that went Game 7 against the Thunder, yeah, the team that beats the New York Knicks in the year prior to go to the finals, the team that beat the Thunder, who were neck and neck with the Spurs team, the team that you couldn't fuck with, that gave you absolute problems, that made you choke up and cough up leads. Yeah, that guy is Tyrese Halliburton. He's coming back. Blow this team up. Scrap everything, man. You get moving off of Darius Garland was probably a good idea in the short term, but in the long term, it was obviously going to be a bad idea if this team did not see any postseason success. And considering that we only made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and got belted once we finally got there by the champions, this is not anything. Blow that shit up. Blow it all the way up. I mean, from the floor up. You do not resemble the team that won 64 games a season ago. Or the season prior, even. You don't resemble that team at all. You still have Donovan Mitchell, you still have Evan Mobley, you still have Jared Allen, but without Darius Garland's playmaking, this team is terrible. And if your concerns were about defense, James Harden does not address them. Do not re-sign James Harden. Let it go. All right. Moving on from that period. We had a whole bunch of regular moves that don't inconsequentially change the league, in my opinion. Goodwin was here. That's cool. Goodwin is going to be re-signing. Colin Gillespie is also going to be re-signing. Their money is very inconsequential. For the Suns, I think this is a good move to have some continuity in this team. They have not had continuity in quite some time. And Goodwin and Gillespie were very good for this team. Gillespie is a pretty good shooter. He did not shoot as well in the postseason, but that is nice to have. KCP picked up his player option. Obviously, that was what he was going to do. I don't know anyone in the league who's willing to offer KCP $21 million. And he's still playing on the Grizzlies, so. Not like he's on a contender. I'm taking the money. That fat bastard Kendrick Perkins got a job somewhere. Hopefully this takes him off of the airway. Thank God. Took them long enough. All right. Alex Sarr had to undergo surgery for this foot. Again, even if the Wizards, who I've said this already, even if the Wizards could possibly have a good defense on paper, Sarr is injury prone. AD is injury prone. And I don't know the defensive impact they would give you, even if they were healthy. So there's that. Oh, and Thiago Splitter fans. I love Thiago Splitter. Gave LeBron an infamous highlight. No, I'm just fucking with you. He was a great coach for the Portland Trail Blazers. Unfortunately, because they lowballed him and are completely unwilling to pay him, he is going to be the new head coach of this team. I thought Billy Donovan was going to be here, but Billy Donovan actually willingly chose to step down. I was talking about terrorists that needed to be fired out as far as NBA coaches, and on my list was Doc Rivers, and then swiftly after that was Billy Donovan, and coaches that have been around for way too long and have a tenure that should not exist this long. Shout out to Thiago Splitter for getting a job, and shout out for it to be not on the Portland Trail Blazers, and shout out for him not being lowballed. Now Portland is in another situation where they do not have a head coach yet again. You lost Chauncey Billups because of gambling scandal. You lost Thiago Splitter because you didn't want to pay him in the new ownership. And this is the final thing for me. This is the final thing. You still have that terrorist, you still have that literal terrorist, Danny Advia, on the team. And I'm not talking about his play style. I'm talking about his politics. I'm talking about what he used to do before he got to the NBA. So yeah, that's disgusting. Oh yeah, and your franchise guy is gonna be Scoot Henderson. Yeah. All right, so I think we got some news, but that doesn't matter. This is all stuff that you would have seen in the finals. It's just talking about Jalen Brunson becoming the finals MVP. That was pretty obvious. Quinn Snyder is coming back to the Atlanta Hawks. He's getting a re-extended contract. Good for him. It makes a lot of sense considering the playoff success they had recently. And by playoff success, I mean just taking 2 games off the defending champions. If that's very good leverage to get a coaching gig. Elton Brand is promoted to the #2 executive. I'm pretty sure Daryl Morey, that fat bastard, got fired. I'm sorry if you just don't like me attacking these people, but they are either bad at their jobs or bad people. Sometimes both. So yeah, glad that's over with. Moving on to something else. This is Steph's deal with the new kind, like $1 billion deal. Hopefully it gets into uninvested and drone companies. All right, that's all the news that I have for everything to June 1. I think I've broken down the basketball aspects of the majority of these pretty well. And this is just part one of the videos. I'm gonna have to obviously make another offseason video. We still don't know what's going on with LeBron. The Lakers as a whole, they're probably gonna be moving in a different direction in future wise. The only thing that could make me not want Cleveland to blow this up is if they just go, we're gonna sign LeBron and then we'll blow it up after that. That's it. That's really it. The Wizards are obviously trying to move in a different direction. I'm not really surprised that they're trying to. Well, they've already set up their moves and stuff like that. As far as Heat, let's talk about the Heat and X's and O's really quickly. This team does not have any spacing at all. There is no shooters on this team. They did manage to keep Norman Powell, which cool, I guess. All-star Norman Powell. That's something. They do not have any point guards. They do not have any ball handling. They got rid of Jaime Jaquez. He is not a shooter, so that's not really that big of a deal. I really think if I was going to have this, you have Bobby Portis on the roster right now, which is very confusing in my opinion. I don't think Bobby Portis is going to be an NBA player for much longer, so that really does nothing. I think that was maybe to match salaries and stuff like that. You lost out on some young prospects to get Giannis. Obviously, you don't give a fuck about those young prospects. You don't give a fuck about those draft picks either. The thing for me is, what do you do after getting Giannis, right? Now that you have Giannis, you obviously need some more spacing on this team. You need some more ball handling. You probably would like a little bit more playmaking as well. All those things that I basically said are pretty much synonymous with what it takes to win in the NBA right now. Bam and Giannis is not a top 2 duo in the league. It is very clunky. Defensively, it is going to be amazing. I would really like to see how teams are going to try and score on this. Problem, if Bam and I just want you to run this through me logistically. Think about this really quickly. If Bam's best skill is his versatility in switching, and Giannis' best skill is as a help defender, who is actually protecting the rim? Like, yes, their defense from these two is great, but Giannis was not used in a rim protecting role for a reason. His best aspects on defense that help him and also help him also get into transition, which is one of the best things that he brings to you offensively, was to do that. And also because Giannis has actually taken more mid-range shots, I'm thinking the spacing is even more important now, because if he is getting doubled in the mid-range, and yes, Giannis is a good playmaker and passer, do not get it twisted, but if he's going to be doubled, what are they doing? Are they dumping off? Are they running big to big plays with Bam? Is that the offense that you're capable and consistently wanting to run? Because I'm not really sure if that's what's going to be moving this team in the future. And more importantly than just that, who is going to handle the ball outside of Giannis? Giannis can handle the ball. Don't get it twisted. But who is going to be handling the rock outside of Giannis? Because I don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. Norman Powell is not enough. Norman Powell, Giannis, and Bam Adebayo. Hey guys, it's not enough. Obviously, they're contenders in the East. Most likely, I don't have them as the favorites. Probably, I think Boston with continuity would probably be more favorable. I don't know how that team's gonna go, considering they tried to trade Jaylen Brown. I don't know how he's gonna feel about that. I don't think he's salty. I don't think he wants to move on from this team, in any meaningful way. But that could bring locker room drama. Something to talk about. Honestly, I'm more enthralled by the WNBA games right now than these moves. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, let me give a state of the league address for the WNBA. This is finally the year where they're better than women's college basketball, and I mean it from an entertainment value. Obviously, they are better players than college basketball players. No duh. It's the next level. But from an entertainment perspective, March Madness for women was so much more entertaining for such a long time. I am so happy for them. They got a lot of studs, okay, studs isn't really great players. Not the term you would be using in June. Studs like that, not the other studs. All right. Anyway. God. Jesus Christ. All right. We got a lot of great players for them. Their All-Star game is about to be in a couple of weeks. Aaliyah Boston, great player. Clayton Clark, great player. AJ Wilson, great player. Kelsey Mitchell, great player. So I watched all of them last night. Paige Becker, great player. All of these. Brittany Griner, obviously. Ignore the off the court stuff with Brittany Griner. But yeah, that's all really great and really interesting. Stuff to think about. I don't really know. If you're really itching for the need for basketball, please watch the WNBA. It will not get better than this. This is the best. Yeah, will be a great season. I'm great for that, and I'm finally glad that this Giannis stuff is over. I think everyone is glad that this is over. We have been going on the will they won't they drop for far too long. We knew that they had to because if you lose Giannis for nothing, it would be terrible. Let's talk about the value that the Milwaukee Bucks get out of this. As far as the now, this trade sucks. This trade sucks as far as now. You're never gonna win the player when you lose. You're never gonna win a trade when you lose out on the best player. The only thing they can tell is time. And they have draft picks, which is something that they really needed to recuperate if they're going to be losing out on Giannis. It's 2026. We're going to be seeing the results of those picks in 2033 and 2031 and those swaps and stuff in that era. So there's that. You're basically banking is Giannis is not going to be good in that era, and Giannis is not going to be on this team in that era if he is good. So there's that. I don't think Giannis will be moving out of Miami. So there's that. Let me talk about one more really, really petty thing that I really wanted to add to this video because I don't think anyone is ever going to talk about it. I'm probably going to be the only YouTuber you're going to ever hear talk about this. If I'm Ray Allen, I am so incredibly hot and annoyed. This is the second time this nigga Giannis has taken my jersey number in a city where I've done a lot. And I'm not going to lie. If he went to Boston and he just had the 34, that's cool. That's cool. He couldn't have got the 34. Obviously, I don't know what number he would have even worn in Boston, to be quite honest. So there's that. I cannot hide my enthusiasm and my great happiness that he is not a Boston Celtic. Thank God. Thank God. By the way, the media narratives would have just been disgusting. Who's the best player on this team? Is it Jason Tatum? Is it Giannis? Is Jason Tatum better than Giannis? Yeah, no, thank God that's over with. The bigs, obviously Boston still needs a big. That's why they were trading for Giannis. The Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum thing is kind of redundant. We've been saying that for years. They won a championship out of it. Yeah. By the way, last offseason we were talking about how, the East is weak, right? The East is not going to be able to compete with the West. We have had, over the course of the last 3 years, a Game 7 being forced by the Pacers in which their best player got injured, so they could have very much won that finals. The Knicks dominated the Spurs in this final, so I don't want to hear anything about that. And yes, the Thunder were not healthy. Womp, womp. It happens. And if we want to talk about that, if I'm going to give the Pacers grace with that, I also will give the Thunder a little bit of grace. But that being said, it goes both ways. It's 50-50. It's debatable, right? The Thunder wouldn't have been champions last year if that happened, all right? And they still might not be champions this year, considering how badly Chet played or how Jalen Williams would have played off of the injury. So there's all of those things to be worried about. Yeah. And also the year before that, in 2025, and the year before 2025 and 2024, the Boston Celtics obviously hoisted the championship. We are living in the best era of basketball. No more weak East narratives. We have seen the East either dominate when they match up against a team in the West. Again, think about this. The Celtics beat Lucas and the Mavs in 5. By the way, it's so crazy he's in LA. Knicks beat the Spurs in 5. And the Pacers won 7 against the Thunder. A team that won 68 games. So yeah. Great era of basketball to be living in. Great everything. It is so great to be here. All that being said, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I probably should have told you to do that in the beginning of the video, but that's it. Bye.